Hello everyone, this time I'm going to present journals about facial attractiveness and aesthetic analysis. The first journal is Association of Frontal and Lateral Facial Attractiveness. Contemporary studies have investigated modification of various linear facial measurements on digital images and evaluated the changes using specific computational scores to define associations between facial attractiveness scores and appearance, sexual dimorphism, and symmetry of the face. Despite the large number of studies focused on defining frontal or lateral facial attractiveness, no reports have examined whether significant association between frontal and lateral facial attractiveness exists. The objectives of this study are to determine the association between frontal and lateral facial attractiveness and to identify key anatomical facial landmarks that might be responsible for discordance between frontal and lateral facial attractiveness scores. Method: the morphing software combines two source images to create a single realistic 50-50 synthetic image that is an average composition of the original two source images. Paired frontal and lateral facial synthetic images of 240 white women were evaluated from September 2004 to September 2008 using an internet-based focus group on an attractiveness Likert scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being least attractive and 10 being most attractive. This is figure of the facial images. A. Representative images from a pool of synthetic anteroposterior and lateral facial images. B. Anteroposterior and lateral images as they appear on the website, and C. Images as they appear during the rating process with attractiveness score and histogram. Data analysis was performed from December 2016 to March 2017. The association between frontal and lateral attractiveness scores was determined using linear regression. Outliers were defined as data outside the 95% individual prediction interval. To identify features that contribute to score discordance between frontal and lateral attractiveness scores, each of these image pairs were scrutinized by an evaluator panel for facial features that were present in the frontal or lateral projection and absent in the other respective facial projection. For the 240 white women studied, the mean age is 21.4 years. The attractiveness scores range from 3.4 to 9.5 for frontal images and 3.3 to 9.4 for lateral images. The mean attractiveness score for frontal images was 6.9, whereas for lateral images was 6.4. The Shapiro-Wilk statistics were 0.978 for frontal attractiveness and 0.981 for lateral attractiveness. In respect to this study, the morphing process created a synthetic image that removed most blemishes, increased the uniformity of skin texture, and increase the symmetry. This artifact can be seen in the negative skewness in frontal and lateral attractiveness scores. Frontal attractiveness scores displayed a negatively skewed bimodal distribution with peaks from 7.0 to 7.9 and 5.0 to 5.9, and lateral attractiveness scores were normally distributed with a negative skew. However, the Shapiro-Wilk test statistics were close to 1, found for both, suggesting that the frontal and lateral attractiveness scores still fall within a normal distribution. The bimodal distribution of lateral attractiveness scores suggests the presence of two-spirit normal distribution. It is possible that most raters in this study categorized lateral attractiveness into the two distinct prototypes of attractive and unattractive, leading to a bimodal distribution. Overall, the paired 120 frontal and lateral images had a strong positive linear association. The coefficient indicates that 74.9% of the variation in frontal attractiveness scores is explained by lateral attractiveness scores. This study determined that an association exists between frontal and lateral attractiveness scores and suggests key facial features that might result in a discordance between this association. The most critical finding is the demonstration of a positive linear association between frontal and lateral facial attractiveness scores. By quantifying this association, these results overcome the limitations of studies that investigate facial landmarks of only frontal or lateral views. There were 4 possible metric outcomes for frontal and lateral pairs: attractive frontal and attractive lateral, unattractive frontal and unattractive lateral, unattractive frontal and attractive lateral, and attractive frontal and unattractive lateral. At present, there is no rubric or set of standards identifying discordant facial features. 8 outlier pairs were identified and analyzed by panel evaluation. Panel evaluation revealed no overarching patterns between frontal and lateral images among outliers. However, among individual outlier pairs, evaluators identified asymmetrical features: long lower third, high hairline, protruding chin, thin upper lip, and dorsal nasal humps as features that might contribute to outlier frontal or lateral attractiveness scores. Surgically altering these facial landmarks might increase facial harmony, symmetry, and attractiveness. Knowledge of such landmarks might also have great utility when evaluating the influence of surgical procedures that might produce significant changes in the frontal or lateral view and vice versa. Conclusions. The results demonstrate a positive linear association between frontal and lateral facial attractiveness scores. Furthermore, specific facial landmarks responsible for the discordance between frontal and lateral facial attractive scores are suggested. Moving to the second journals, it's Knowing Your Face, a componential analysis of self-perceived facial attractiveness. Facial attractiveness is a highly agreed upon and socially important characteristic, but contemporary research has not fully investigated individual enhancement of their facial attractiveness. There are 2 primary questions in this research. First, how is perception of facial attractiveness related to an individual's overall tendency to see others in particular ways, and by how an individual is generally seen by others. Second, how is facial attractiveness enhancement related to race and gender, and what factors can help explain potential differences. Participants in this study were undergraduate students. The majority of the sample were women and Caucasian. Participants were from 3 universities in the United States. Overall, the average age of the sample was 23.4. Data collection procedures were the same on all 3 campuses. On the first day of class, students were placed into groups of 4 strangers. After participants answered an initial questionnaire that included their perception of their facial attractiveness in general, a round-robin design is used. It's a commonly used methodology for the social relation model in which participants rated themselves and the others in their group on a variety of traits, including overall attractive face, likability, and intelligence. Participants also provided meta-perception for each group member. Participants returned to the lab at a later time to complete self-report adjustment measures. There are 2 indices based on participants' rating during the round-robin procedure. A social comparison index, SG, defined as difference between a participant's self-rating and the average rating they gave to other members in their group, and a self-insight index, SI, defined as difference between a participant's self-rating and the average rating they received from the other members in their groups. Participants' facial attractiveness was defined as the average rating they received from the other members of their 4-person group. The average facial attractiveness rating was 5.93. African Americans were rated higher by other members of their group than were Caucasians. Women were rated higher than were men, and the extent of the gender differences depended on race. Among Caucasian participants, women were rated higher than men, and among African American participants, women were rated about the same as men. The social relation model analysis yields estimates of variance attributable to target, perceiver, and relationship effects. Variance estimates for each of these effects classified as relative to total variance. These effects are significant when they account for a reliable amount of the total variability in participant ratings. To address the first research question concerning validity of the SG and SI indices, a series of correlational analysis is conducted. Given potential confounds of the indices with how an individual is generally seen by others, the target effects, an individual's tendency to see others in particular ways, the perceiver effects, then computed the correlation, the extent of confounding. The SI and perceivers effect correlation were stronger for traits with higher level of perceiver variance. These trends suggest that individuals who tend to view others as more attractive, likable, and intelligent might mistakenly appear to show lack of SI if the perceiver effect is not controlled. As shown in the table, the stronger correlation were found for the traits in which higher relative target variance was present. This trend demonstrates that individuals who are seen as more attractive, intelligent, or likable can be mistakenly labeled as showing an SC enhancement bias if the target effect is not controlled. The second research question focused on how enhancement of facial attractiveness might be related to participant race and gender. The study addressed this question using revised version of the SI and SC indices given the confounding present in each of these uncorrected indices, and used the resulting standardized residual as the revised measures of facial attractiveness enhancement labeled as SIP and SCT. Regression results and descriptive statistics for individual predictors are summarized in Table 2 and 3. African Americans saw a higher SIP index than Caucasian. The CI demonstrate that African American tended to enhance, whereas Caucasian tended to efface. Men saw a higher SIP index than women. The CI demonstrate that men tended to enhance, whereas women generally tended to efface. African Americans saw a higher SCT index compared to Caucasian. African American appear to enhance, whereas Caucasian appear to efface. This study conducted multiple mediational analysis using the bootstrap method to determine if adjustment mediated the relationship between facial attractiveness enhancement and race and gender. Race had a statistically significant total effect on self-enhancement as indicated by the unstandardized regression coefficient. The direct effect between race and self-enhancement was non-significant due to the mediational role of adjustment. This study explored participant meta-perception to understand further the enhancement tendencies of the men and the African American in the sample. Participants provided meta-perception or their prediction on how others viewed them. Comparison 1 pitted participants' self-rating against their meta-perception. The main effect for comparison 1 was significant. Participants' self-rating were higher than their meta-perception. Participants viewed themselves as more attractive than they predicted others would see them. Comparison 2 pitted others' rating of the participants against the participants' meta-perception. The main effect for comparison 2 was not significant, nor was it involved in a two-way interaction with either race or gender. That is, participants' prediction on how others rated their facial attractiveness were not notably different than how others actually rated their facial attractiveness. This is one indication that participants saw meta-perception accuracy. In sum, while participants could accurately predict how others viewed them as sound by comparison to their self-views were higher than their prediction on how others would view them in comparison 1, and how others actually viewed them, regardless of their own race or gender. Thus, people accurately predict other rating of them, but persist in holding enhanced self-views of their facial attractiveness. The current study provides 3 important contributions to the study of facial attractiveness enhancement. First, the degree of enhancement was influenced by participants' general tendency to view others in particular ways or perceiver effect, as well as how they are seen by others or target effects. Second, enhancement tendency differ by race and gender, even after controlling for target and perceiver effects. Third, the differences in enhancement by race are explained by differences in adjustment and support the notion of complex identity formation by African Americans. Gender differences, however, might be best understood in terms of men's persistently higher self-rating compared to their accurate meta-perception. Research has shown that people are inaccurate judges, but illustrates several important caveats. First, race matter. African Americans enhance their facial attractiveness more than did Caucasian. Second, gender matters. Men enhance more than did women. Third, these influences are independent, not interactive. And lastly, mechanisms responsible for enhancement seem to operate differently for African Americans than for men. The results show that adjustment mediated the relationship between race and enhancement, revealing that positive self-views rather than race explain the race difference in enhancement tendencies. The current research demonstrates complexity with respect to self-enhancement research and highlight the necessity of accounting for target and perceiver effect in enhancement measures. This study also highlights the difference between the two types of self-enhancement, with participants showing more robust enhancement as measured by the SI index than the SG index. Lastly, the third journal is Numbers of Beauty, an innovative aesthetic analysis for orthodontic surgery treatment planning. The modern software for orthodontic visual treatment planning is based on Arnett soft tissue cephalometric analysis. However, it does not specify the exact amount of maxillary advancement required in cases of maxillary retrusion. Therefore, it is important to locate the reference line on a point the surgeon will not move during bemaxillary surgery in order to identify the exact and ideal position of Arnett's soft tissue landmarks, especially the point subnasal, which consider expression of the sagittal position of the upper jaw. As a fixed reference landmark, it is decided to take the soft tissue glabella through the new vertical planning line perpendicular to the natural head position. The aim of the present study is to validate a new aesthetic analysis and to establish the sagittal position of the maxilla on an ideal group of reference. Also, to demonstrate the usefulness of this finding in the treatment planning of patients undergoing orthogenetic surgery for the correction of the sagittal position of the jaw. a reference group consisting of 81 Italian attractive women participating in national beauty contest in 2011, aged between 18 and 25 years were selected. A standardized frontal and profile photograph was taken for every participant. This group underwent Arnett's soft tissue analysis with the Dolphin software 9.5 on lateral photograph taken with the subject in natural head position, that is, the position obtained with the subject standing and looking at this reflection in a mirror positions exactly at eye level. The mean and standard deviation of each parameter of Arnett's STCA is calculated to find out if the group fits in Arnett's proposed norms. Later on, drew the new vertical planning line on the reference group passing through soft tissue glabella. Then measures the distances in millimeters of the following landmarks from the vertical planning line. The means and standard deviations is calculated for all landmarks considering a. Nasal tip, nasal base, subnasal, A point, upper lip anterior, lower lip anterior, B point, and pogonion. Another group of 60 female patients aged between 18 and 40 affected by skeletal class 3 malocclusion who came to this observation during the period from October 2011 to May 2012 was recruited for the study. The treatment planning for this patient was then assessed on the basis of the classical cephalometric analysis integrated with the data from the new vertical planning line analysis, considering the soft tissue changes occurring after orthogenetic surgery for soft and hard tissue ratio. All patients underwent bimaxillary orthogenetic surgery with Lefort 1 osteotomy for maxillary advancement and bilateral sagittal split osteotomy for mandible setback. The patient entered then a postoperative follow-up program with photographic and clinical control after 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. Finally, the patient values before and after orthogenetic surgery is compared with the reference values from the group of women participating in the beauty contest for all soft tissue landmarks. This table shows the comparison of the reference group of girls participating in the beauty contest with Arnett's proposed norm, with the student t-test show significant statistical differences for the following parameters: interlabial gap, upper lip thickness, lower lip thickness, orbital rim, subpupil, soft tissue A point, upper lip anterior, lower lip anterior, soft tissue B point, soft tissue pogonion, facial angle, forehead to maxilla, forehead to chin, orbital rim to maxilla, subnasal to chin, maxilla to mandible, and lip to lip. From the statistical analysis of these results, a significant difference was found between Arnett proposed values and the reference group. Arnett used a group of 26 adult Caucasic models chosen for their good clinical characteristics to define his soft tissue cephalometric values, whereas this study consists of 81 women representative of the current Italian ideal of beauty selected among the population by national beauty contests. This group should not be considered a standard reference group but an ideal population. This is the means and standard deviation of the landmarks distances from the vertical planning line measured on the reference group. This is the data on the patient with maxillomandibular malformation observed, which shows the means and standard deviation of all patients before and after orthognathic surgery. From the descriptive statistical using box plots, comparison of the patient values before and after orthognathic surgery with the reference values from the group of women participating in the beauty contest, it is observed how all parameters considered got closer to the ideal population. It demonstrated how orthognathic surgery brought the patient values closer to the ideal population, obtaining an improvement in facial balance. It is emphasized that Arnett soft tissue cephalometric analysis still remains a fundamental tool in the treatment planning of orthognathic surgery. The study tried to fulfill Arnett soft tissue cephalometric analysis with the new vertical line passing through the soft tissue glabella, a point not influenced by maxillary surgery, to define better the sagittal position of the upper jaw. It is considered this vertical planning line a useful help for orthodontists and surgeons in the treatment planning of patients with maxillomandibular malocclusion, to integrate the clinical facial examination and the classical cephalometric analysis of bone structures. Thank you.